So I'll tell you what this video isn't going to be, rather than like what it is. It's not going to be like one of those sad, you know, like I'm feeling discouraged. The title's not going to be in full lowercase like I'm sad or I'm sorry or whatever. It's not one of those. This was originally an entirely unscripted 20-minute somewhat rant kind of thing, which I thankfully went back and actually wrote something down for. And as you can see, it's not shorter because I don't do shorts. It isn't something I'm particularly fond of talking about, nor is it like anything else I've posted recently. This is just how I genuinely feel about the game right now. And it's basically a podcast with background footage, as most of my videos end up being anyways, but I guess, yeah. So enjoy falling asleep to this, because I know some of you do. I won't judge. But yeah, I've been getting pretty discouraged for several reasons. I know a lot of it has to do with just pure coincidences, but that doesn't really make it any better. I'm at a point where I don't really know how to feel anymore because I'm getting so many mixed signals from a game that I love, and it doesn't really seem to love me back very much outside of you guys. There's a lot to this. This isn't like a recent feeling. It's just at this point, I feel like I just have to talk about it just to get it off my chest. So for starters, let's go back like a couple years. Soon after the Leicester split, 2023 happened, and Wargaming completely fishtailed. Like, basically their entire teaser video at the start of the year was stuff that just didn't end up happening. We got more or less an entire year of not really that great changes, which was kicked off with the only sale of the BZ and all of the AMX M454 stuff that happened after that. I don't really have to explain it too much. I mean, they overbuffed the tank, waited a couple patches, and then nerfed it back down. Everybody hated part of it, be it fighting the thing like 2 per team every match, the nerfing of the tank afterwards, or just how it was handled in general. There was a lot of things to not like about that. So feeling kind of burnt out and honestly just getting sick of playing tier 10 at that point for many different reasons, I decided to spice things up a little bit by making What Are Those? I don't really update it much anymore just because I'd rather spend free time making progress on something I don't have to update every other week because they change things. I rode that wave of chaos for a long time. As goofy and hilarious as it was, it gave the game a lot of character where even if it was the same game, I could appreciate it for what it had turned into as much of a mess as it already was. After a long while, that sparkle kind of faded a little bit and I was back to playing the same game. It was fine. I had used the mod pack for so long that normal was kind of new again. While playing the game was still fun, cracks kind of started to form in very subtle ways. Sheriff accounts were discontinued entirely, be it for the CCs or any of the random events that they would do. The forums got shut down seemingly out of nowhere for really no reason, and they weren't even archived. There's a lot of like actually useful information that is just lost to time now. Shortly after that, I got a little bit of a spark of hope when Wargaming announced that they were looking for more community members, be it as community ambassadors or as community contributors. I thought this was great because the YouTube channel had just started picking up some steam at this point, so it was perfect timing to segue right in. I applied to be a CC, as did many other people at NA. Draps is the only one that I can really think of off the top of my head, and I'm not going to guess if other people did and be wrong without knowing. Many people on EU also submitted their applications, like Yulia, who has rated me a few times, and vice versa. People on EU got their response from Sir Remselsdorf within a couple weeks. People on NA never got a response. We never got a response because Domo Sapien abruptly got removed from the team just days after they were doing this application process. We have no information as to why this happened, and the only way non-CCs found out about this was because his name on Discord went from the Wargaming employee red, like they have a role for Wargaming employees that makes their role a red color basically, so their name is red everywhere. That turned to the tan of just a default server member, which is what everybody has. That is legitimately the only way players could have possibly known that this had happened. I asked about all this a month or so after Domo was likely fired, and I really didn't get a solid answer other than if you didn't get a response yet, you probably weren't going to get one. I don't really blame anyone who could have answered my question since they almost certainly had nothing to do with the decision. And it clearly wasn't a decision made with a solid plan in mind, given the fact that they also just had no idea really how to respond. So that whole situation behind us, I decided to joke about it and mostly move on. Bummed for sure, but it's entirely out of my hands, so it isn't something I should really care too much about. We proceeded to have an awesome year anyway, CC or not. Actually, brief little side note, I'm kind of in a neat spot right now, where there's a constant cycle of people going, I didn't know you streamed and made videos and stuff, and also some nights getting recognized in battles on the NA server. I talk to a lot of people, and a lot of people talk to me. When someone else talks about the matchmaker or various ways to change the game, I often get messages on Discord asking, have you seen this yet? Oftentimes, no, I haven't. So it's good to have a following of people that know I care enough about this stuff that I want to see it, and also sometimes facepalm at some of the things people say.
Even though I have a solution to slowing battles down, and that would be basically to remove the rammer from the game. You know, the gun rammer?
And also, while we're on the topic of being sent videos of other creators when they bring something up, why is that such an event when it happens? Why is it so rare for the mainline WoT creators to talk about an issue the game has and how to fix some of them? Why am I like essentially the only person making videos like this? It's such a treat when someone other than me brings these issues up, and it's also kind of annoying when everyone starts talking about stuff only when one of the big 7 creators say something. Is there something taboo about discussing the game's problems, or does it just take too long to make something like that, given how many of them upload every single day? I do understand the upload something every day or else I'll starve to death kind of content cycle that so many CCs have. I used to upload 2 shorts a week and a video every Friday, but it creates a situation where something has to really go wrong in order for them to pay like any attention to this stuff. If you want an example of this, Quickie Baby made several videos on patch 1.20.1, which is when this semi-current version of Crew 2.0 was being put into the game. This is essentially one of the only times a big CC has openly resented a change this much. Fast forward a few days and posted on the website, the things he opposed didn't make it into the game. You can debate amongst yourselves how correlated those two things are. I'm not gonna say it's one or the other. Another thing we tried to do last year, which I don't think I ever mentioned out of the 2 streams we did of it, was try to make our own map. And I'm just going to preface this with, this is the beginning of my mood's decline here. I was pretty hyped up about this project, and I was determined to make it into something real you could at least physically see in-game at the very least. The problem is, Wargaming probably knew someone was going to try this with their Wargaming Mods version of the Unified Editor, because they have heavily gimped the program in every possible way to not let you do this. There is only one thread about this program in the world, and it is years old, on Korean random, in Russian. I ported 24,000 files in manually and converted them all to formats that would actually be rendered in. None of the textures worked on any of them, and no one in the years of history of this actually happening has someone figured out how to fix that. Not that it entirely mattered, because the buildings would turn into asset boxes outside of 130 meters. If you're wondering why that's significant, this is what 130 meters is compared to other significant range markers this game uses. And the map I was planning on making was 1,200 meters each way. You can't open a project. Or at least not with the button that says open. There was a workaround for that, fortunately, but still, kind of evident they were trying to gimp this. What isn't as fortunate is the rest of this software's capabilities in its current state. As I've said, it's heavily gimped. It's not meant for doing what we were doing with it, and by attempting to do that stuff, the program would constantly freeze upon placing assets, reset various settings, crash upon opening the project, crash upon saving the project, which corrupted my save twice, with various other things that I don't really feel the need to revisit in my mind. Long story short, I had to give up on that, and that really sucked, because I was really looking forward to actually showing something like that, because I'm pretty sure nobody's ever done that in this game's history before. My bitterness with that rests heavily in the fact that the community would so easily do Wargaming's job for them in this regard. We have not gotten a map in 2 years, and the last 2 maps that we did get both got massive rebalances to both major flanks. That's not exactly a great track record. especially when that's where they left off for the very foreseeable future. So my only question then is, why shouldn't we be allowed to use their map editing software? They're not using it, so why not let us? What is there really to lose or be afraid of other than building a framework for it to actually function with a submitting process? I mean, really, this is like, how have they not even considered this yet? I'm gonna double down on this point. If there's one thing from this video that gets shown to anybody on the Wargaming staff, I hope it's this. You have a community that is absolutely starving for new maps. You guys keep cooking with the same recipe, and we just want to eat something else. You have an absolute army of people that will do the job for you for free, for fun. And due to the sheer volume of people, it's almost a guarantee that they will do a better job. I used to say that just out of confidence, but now I say it with zero doubt in my mind. The reason I can say it without a doubt anymore is because they actually had the gall to take Canyon, a rejected recon map, right? Retexture it to look like Empire's Border, and threw it onto the super test as a proposed change. I am not making a single piece of that up. They actually did this. I just, like, I don't know how to process that, and the fact that they legitimately tried that. I don't think another game company has ever replaced a map with another map that they already had in the game and called it a change. And the fact that this was actually proposed, I don't know. Anyway, all that stuff happens in relation to the maps. My patience getting put into a paper shredder in relation to map design, not once, not twice, but 3 different times. The other thing that was confusing is Onslaught maps. Maps weren't deemed competitive enough for the competitive mode, so they were changed. Let me just reiterate that again with better emphasis. Wargaming themselves determined that the maps weren't good enough in their current state to be used in the official competitive format. So why are they the way that they are? If you are aware of the problem and are aware it is a problem and have taken steps to make it better, then why isn't this what we have in the first place? You know about it, you've acknowledged it, and you've done something about it. Why is this not the case for the entire game? All right, I've made my point. I'm done ranting about the maps. We'll talk more about maps in the next series of videos I'm doing, which will be followed about the video about the matchmaker. I'm fortunate that I waited to make that one, actually, because they're currently testing a new matchmaking system on EU. This matchmaker apparently took them 2 years to create, as it was built from scratch with a more kind of modern approach and idea to how games should be created. As long as what happens is what they say will happen, this will be actually really great for the game. I do have one little concern with this, though. While this matchmaker was in development for roughly 2 years, we don't know when the idea was planted or when it started. But while it was in development, Wargaming's head of community, Ikibu, was constantly trashing the idea of a better matchmaking system, or just really anything that kind of could make it better. Anytime someone comes up with an idea for the matchmaker or says how changing it would benefit the game, he would stretch what was stated to an impossible state where it would obviously be false as a method of invalidating what people were saying, to make it sound preposterous and that it actually wouldn't be a good idea anymore.
Are you considering changes to matchmaking? Yes, we are. We do it all the time. We even do tests. Somebody saying if you just fix matchmaking, you would get 50% more players overnight. I can tell you that's not true because we actually do tests on matchmaking. Let's see. I'm going to put up a poll. Do you want chocolate or not, Rival? What do you think the answer is going to be? Yes. But if you try handing out free chocolate to people in real life, do you know what happens normally? People go, I don't trust you. No thanks. People say they're going to be willing to wait 15 minutes for the perfectly batched game that's equal in every way regards. But I can tell you, having worked on a game that didn't have glorious queue times, that's not the case.
When the changes were announced on every social media platform, the entire Wargaming social media team was extremely excited about the changes. Penpra'a even said they hated not being able to tell anyone that it was going to happen. Meanwhile, on the official World of Tanks stream, across those same 2 years the thing was in development,
±1 is a pretty clear-cut thing that Playbase wants. Based on what? Where's the clear-cut? Where's your statistics and your data? Subject to zero running high tier. We have seen this, and the team right now is not looking into taking any action, but I know that this is an opinion that some have. Well, we do give it. Again, I've mentioned this, and you've been here when I've mentioned this. We try it out. We do samples on random games in random matchmaking. We say, this cohort of players for this day, for 5 hours, get ±1 only. And then you compare it with similar sort of players who have the normal matchmaker throughout, and you go, okay, do these players play more games? Statistically, no. Do they rate their games more happier? No. Do they last longer in games? No. Okay, so it's not this then. Now, it can have other effects, but we run the test. You don't just ask them for it, because people will say, yes, I want this. And you're like, are you sure? And they go, I don't care, just give it me. ±1 is a pretty clear-cut thing that Playbase wants. Based on what? But we run the test. You don't just ask them for it, because people will say, yes, I want this. And you're like, are you sure? And they go, I don't care, just give it me. I don't care that McDonald's is not healthy for me. I just want free McDonald's. Here I am discussing and talking. Not eating my pizza or my burger. I hope you appreciate the sacrifice, chat.
so you can imagine, to me anyways, how good it felt to see that, seemingly despite Eek's best efforts, they're actually moving forward with increasing the frequency of +1 -1 games, which I appreciate very much. All players really want is a level playing field, and this new matchmaker's already doing a very good job of it. There's been a lot of support for this already, and it's only been in the game for about a week and a half. I really don't want to get too far into it, but I do see some fundamental flaws with the head of the community team openly arguing with how the players of their game feel about their game. Sure, there's plenty of stuff that's like objectively right and wrong, like the ever-present crowd that somehow still thinks the game is rigged. I honestly can't believe it. That's one thing. He probably sees it on a daily basis. I get it. That's not what I mean. What I mean is stuff like players being told to do their own research on topics that ordinary players like you and me can't really do any research about, like things on the super test and knowing about the super testers themselves. Replying to paragraphs of accurate criticism with a single sentence reply, one that doesn't even acknowledge the message's contents in any way. Constantly like egoing people for the sake of feeling important, and I only say that because I really don't know what the point is otherwise. Several people have also been banned or muted on the official Discord for saying he has a god complex, which I don't really feel the need to elaborate much on because, yeah, I don't mention all that to throw dirt on anybody. It isn't defamation, because it's also not particularly hard to find. And I say all of that because it's just yet another thing that's made me feel kind of discouraged. Suggesting good idea after good idea after good idea and repeatedly being met with, where is your data? Show me your data, by someone who you know will never show you their data is a slap in the face to anybody who would actually want to try making the game better from a community standpoint. That just sucks. And then, a couple days after the very good matchmaking changes were announced, we got hit with this. TragicLoss has departed the Wargaming team after about 8 years. Also, brief little side note with this, I'd like to point out that I originally got affiliated on Twitch because of Tragic. She approved me for Thanksgiving weekend drops back in 2021, and I averaged so many viewers that weekend that I could apply to be an affiliate by the end of the week.
Oh, Commander AF, you know incoming, right? Like,
Yes.
one of our regulars
Expedition.
incoming. So he had signed up for the Thanksgiving drops, and like a good little dino, I went through all of the people who signed up for the drops just because I want to like check out their channels.
Yeah.
And I get to like incoming's channel, and like I go to the channels because I want to like see what the people's channels looks like, whatnot. And I see that he's online, he's live, and I'm like, okay, like I'll watch for a bit. And like as I'm watching, I realize that he has like solitaire playing in the like bottom right hand corner of his screen. I'm like, are you playing solitaire while playing tanks? And he's like, yeah, I am. And I'm like, excuse me? Like, geez, I can't even always talk while playing World of Tanks, let alone
Play 2 games at once.
Yeah.
Hey, there's one. Rip type 64. That's unfortunate. Give me like a 5. Oh, he's back. Yay! All right. Okay, let's see here. Side note again, but my application for a Twitch partner got denied, so I'm really not surprised. Like it's not a surprise. I expected this to happen fully because I just barely met requirements. So I really wasn't surprised, nor am I really bummed that much. It would have been awesome, but we'll get there eventually. Anyways, Tragic was probably the only real advocate left at Wargaming for the silly, fun modes that had nothing to do with original events. She used to run minigame nights on the official stream just for fun, and it was great. Nobody else ever did those. The closest we have is EBR races, which is an event put together by a CC, not Wargaming. With Tragic gone, a very significant amount of fun is gone from the Wargaming team now. The EU team has never done special events like the NA team did, and with almost none of the NA team left for players to contact, that's not good. So hopefully at this point you can kind of see why I'm just so confused and just unsure how to feel about everything World of Tanks right now. They announce a great new matchmaking system, a reworked CC program that I might actually get invited to, but also start the year off by selling the Waffenträger E100 for $400, 3 loot box events, an assembly shop that DOSed their own economy server, and then parted ways with a community manager, the person who has done the most to promote having fun in their game, who I've known for 5 years at this point, in addition to a bunch of QA staff. And the thing that's kind of scary with this path is that they've called their shot, and this entire year is being built up to whatever's going to happen in September that we have zero information about. Granted, 6 months out. With how they keep downscaling everything, I truthfully don't feel particularly confident about it. They're putting more time and money into licensing partnerships than they are keeping their staff employed. With Dune, Terminator, Snatch, Rambo, Star Trek, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, now Peaky Blinders as well. And there's no end in sight for this. My account turns 13 years old in April. And now more than ever, I just feel incredibly unsure about where the game is headed. Every event entirely revolves around money, and nothing is just for fun anymore. Before anyone says it's a company, they have to make money. I know, but holy crap, guys. Like, there's making money, and then there's this. We only get 1 to 2 sets of balance changes in an entire year, and there's no guarantee they're making the right call with those. I think they've gotten decently lucky with their choices so far, because a lot of them are good and some of them are nothing. They seem to have given up on making maps entirely, but won't pass the ball to the community, which means the problem's only going to get worse. The USO charity streams are entirely gone because the organizer for those events hasn't been in the CC program for a long while now. So in general, it's just this extreme clash of things constantly going right and wrong for the past 3 years that I don't even know whether to be depressed or excited anymore. And it's gotten genuinely kind of exhausting. Several times in the past 2 or 3 weeks, I've opened the editing software to work on a video and then just stared at the timeline for 10 minutes before closing it. We all have that gleam for this game, which is why we still play it. There really isn't another game like it, and anyone who says War Thunder can shut up. But my enthusiasm has been repeatedly tested for so long that that gleam is genuinely starting to fade a little bit. And I really don't like that.